Fox and a micro away from the pros, focusing on stalkers one by one.
Coming in from every single angle. There's a time warp, but look at this concave, this crescent moon.
The fight. This is what's gonna happen now. The supply goes in Huck's favor. He's just gonna barrel through, take out whatever. So much file here coming towards.
Looking like Nesty is gonna take it here.
Dancing the roaches a little bit. Scarlet. Now the Hydras are exposed. Those Vita's gonna die, and it's not really gonna make that much of a difference for GG.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. New York City, it is Monday, long weekend, feels like, because every moment away from StarCraft makes me a little bit sadder inside. But here we are, back with WCS America Challenger League. I'm Axeltoss, joined by Axslav. How are you?
I'm excellent, man. I was watching, you were actually doing StarCraft this weekend.
I was doing a little bit of StarCraft,
Yeah.
just a teensy, tiny bit of StarCraft.
Just like
good.
28, 30 hours.
I can't stay away, man. I can't stay away. The best part about it is, like, it's fine and all being able to. Of course, I was doing some community casting for DreamHack over the weekend. I have like a bunch of replays now that I can just study, and now no one will beat me ever.
That's a good plan.
GSL in a year.
I mean, that's
What
all
do
it
you think
takes,
about
right?
that?
Like, if you have Jaedong's replay, what's to stop you from playing like Jaedong?
I don't have Jaedongs, but I have lives.
Oh,
Is that
even better.
Is
I
that
would
okay?
say.
Okay,
Even
GSL
better.
in a year. Axeltoss. I'll be on stage. I'll be there. I'll be winning everything. I heard you played in the Cybercraft tournament.
I did. I didn't
How'd you do?
Not. I mean, I got third. I wanted to get first.
Third is
but-
good.
Yeah.
It's like $200, 1,500.
Zero monies.
Zero.
I
Oh,
won
Nick.
0 monies getting third.
That's okay. At least you had fun.
I did have fun.
Local tournaments are good. Everyone get in your local community, play some StarCraft.
Clarity Gaming guys always win Cybercraft, man.
Is that, did they get top two? Who are the two?
It was Shu and Bad Cop this time. Yeah.
You know what, Nick? I'm still proud of you. Know that. But guys, of course, the purposes of today, WCS Challenge League, continuing on, we're trying to find out who's going to advance to Premier League. That's what's important here. Premier League of Season 2. This is Group H, and honestly, on paper, this is definitely one of the stronger groups, if not the strongest.
I would definitely say so. I mean, you have 2 Korean players, and Sen, a lot of people would say, is at the level of maybe the top Korean players. He's taken out so many big titles. Phoenix is the one guy who's the dark horse of the tournament. He's a guy who, early in StarCraft 2, was one of the premier players from the Americas and a top player from South America. But over the last year or two, he's really slipped. He hasn't had any really notable results recently. But this is a stage where he can finally prove himself again. You know, if he can take down Oz and then take down one of either Sen or Sage, that'd be huge, because these are 3 heavy hitters he's in a group with.
Yeah, that's going to be a difficult prospect. I think Phoenix definitely going to be considered the underdog in this group. Of course, format is double elimination. We're going to have a winner's match, we're going to have a loser's match, and then we're going to have a match at the end. The winner of the winner's match and winner of the final match advance to the Premier League. The winner of the 4th match of the night will advance to Challenger League, and the loser of the 4th match will be out of WCS America. That being said, we're live right now on Battle.net. I got Sen and Sage in this lobby. I'm going to ask if they're ready, and I hope they are. And it looks like Sen is ready. Waiting on Sage, but we got a PVZ on our hands. The first map is going to be Belshir Vestige.
You know, I think just looking at results over the last year, I think Sen has to be the favorite for the entire group. I mean, if you look at, he got 4th place in the Blizzard World Finals last year. I mean, he performed insanely well. He's gone 3rd place at a couple NASL events, and I think 2 different NASL events actually.
Yes.
I mean, Sage though, Sage hasn't had that big win in the Premier event, but in the Acer Team Cup, he's been Root's ace player.
Oh, yeah.
And he's done very, very well against, I think, and he took out Hyun in the Challenge League qualifier. So Sage has taken on some very top players as well. It's going to be a very exciting match for these 2 giants.
All right, here we are in the first best of 3 of the night. In the bottom right-hand location of Belshir Vestige, I present to you the Red Zerg player. He is Sen. Of course, on Team Gamma Bears, hailing from Taiwan. Premier League round of 32, he went 2-0 versus Kapach, 1-2 versus Crank, 2-1 versus Huck to advance himself to the round of 16. So he booked his flight to New York City to play in the round of 16, where he lost twice to Alicia and Nesty. And there's a common trend about all those names, Nick. 4 of them were Protoss, and he beat 2 of them. So 2-2 versus Protoss in WCS America. Of course, for the purposes of this match, it is against a Protoss. It's interesting to consider. Of course, in the Challenger League bracket stage, unfortunately, he was late to his match. So he was disqualified and sent down here to the group stage. So that's how Sen got to this point. His opponent in the top left-hand location is your blue Protoss player representing Team Root and hailing from Korea. He is Sage, of course, trying to join his teammates Diognus, Puck, and Vibe, who are currently in Premier League Season 2. And interestingly enough, in the Challenger League bracket stage, he lost to Vibe 1-2. That has been his only match so far in WCS America because, of course, he got into the tournament by getting through the qualifying. So we don't have a lot of stats on him in this actual tournament, but his only he hasn't won a match in WCS America so far, but again, only one match, and against his teammate Vibe.
And he also already took out Hyun in the qualifier for the Challenger League. So he definitely has a lot of PvZ skill there. You mentioned, against Vibe, he had some issues there a little bit, but
yeah,
I mean, Vibe also blazed through his group. I think he went 4-0 in a group with Killer and Major. So losing to Vibe is no shame at all here. We can see Sen opting for a pretty standard opening. Pool, then hatchery. Sage is going to scout this, and Sage is going for a gateway expand. And Sen, as soon as his Overlord sees the fact there's nothing at the natural to Protoss, he's going to know it's a gateway expand. He's probably going to throw it out in the gas.
So what do you make of this scout timing here on this probe? I mean, it's not early enough where it's going to be able to block that hatchery necessarily, which is like, to me it feels like, all right, if you're playing a PvZ and you're scouting, you're going to send a probe in the first 3 minutes. If you're deciding you're going to do that, why not send it a little bit earlier so you can try to be annoying at that natural?
This is something, when people do the gateway expand, they often send the probe a little bit later. And I think the idea behind it is they're not too concerned about stopping the Zerg hatchery. Of course, it is nice to delay it. But with a gateway expand, there's all these investments you're throwing down early on. You're getting the gateway, the simulator, your mining gas, you're getting the Psycore. And you really don't want to lose any economy at all early because it'll delay your Nexus even more. And I guess the theory is, you know what, he can get that hatchery down as long as he doesn't take the very fast third hatchery. That's what I'm focused on, and that's the idea of getting the warp get up so fast that you can do some harassment, whether it's Mothership Core, if it's Stalkers, if it's airplay or multiple warp gates of attacks. It's all oriented around the 9 to third base. Not quite as worried about the 9 to natural.
All right, Juling's going to scout in here from Sen. No, not going up the ramp, turning around. I guess seeing enough, but I think it would have been nice to see the lack of a second gas for Sage that's currently in his main base, which kind of implies I feel like we might see some additional gateways being added on as part of the wall, the natural expansion, perhaps 2 or 3 gateways, and then we're going to see some gateway aggression. Generally, if the Protoss players are going to get those 2 gases, and if they don't get those 2 gases in their main, obviously they're going to want to invest a bit into army in the early stages, so we'll look out for a 4-gate push here from Sage.
That's right, we see him adding those 3 gates to the front. Sen spotted all 3 gateways though. His Zerglings pop back in, checked out the wall, and as a Zerg player, you always want to have some form of scouting in front of the Protoss base.
Nice Overlord.
Very
I love that
beautiful
timing.
scout there.
I love that timing.
He's going to see the time to say. He's going to see the Chrono Boosted Warp. He's going to know exactly what's coming at him. Right now, he still has no gas being mined. So the interesting thing here is you can stop this with just Zerglings. Because there's no +1 on the Zealots, if you have the fast 3 hatches like Sen does, it is possible to stop this attack without the speedings or the roach check, but it is difficult, and you have to use the Queen as well. You have to really produce an overwhelming number of Zerglings to get the full surround on the Zealots before the number gets too high.
Time Warp could be annoying too. I mean, if you have nothing but slowlings and slow Zerglings, Time Warp can do a bit, but of course then you have to decide, all right, do I want to conserve energy for a potential recall back to my base? We see Sage getting a forward pylon up, or at least trying to. Probe could be fleeing away. I think, there is a pylon a little bit further back, so not the end of the world if Sage loses a pylon. Of course, if he gets up, he's going to be super happy. 4 Zealots charging into this third base. Slow Lings and Queens, and again, exclusively here from Sen, making 16 Lings in production. And Sage biding his time, but this Protoss army is looking more and more powerful.
The Zealots warping in 4 at a time. The Queens are important. If he loses too many Queens, he loses his ability to kite against his Zealots and to take out their Mothership Core.
Sen's still buying time, it looks like.
Yes, and Sage doesn't want to commit too far, because if he goes too far away from that pylon, he can't warp in reinforcements directly into the engagement. Also, he risks being surrounded against enough Zerglings. Even 8 Zealots can be taken out.
Behind this, a Robo is being added on for Sage, so he does have obviously a mid-game plan or plan beyond this initial push. The opposite 2 gases to be added as natural expansion. The Zealot's trying to kite away from these Lings. Remember, he's off creep right now. The Queen's trying to get that damage done. Might switch to target down the Mothership Core, but there's the recall. Sage getting out of there. And if we're talking about if that was successful or not,
it's very difficult to tell, because I mean, on the one hand, Sage avoided losing a lot of those Zealots, which is super important, because Sage is going to want to take a third base sometime in the next 2 minutes, and if he loses all those Zealots, all of a sudden it's very difficult to take the third base against the quantity of Zerglings that Sen has out in the field. And I mean, they don't have speed yet, but eventually at some point they would, and they're very good at denying the third base. On the other hand, Sen didn't take any drone losses. Yes, he had to build a lot of Zerglings, but because he didn't get any gas early, he had a lot of extra early minerals to play around with, and he could afford to get that many Zerglings right off the bat.
Looks like a little bit of a follow-up push here from Sen, this time adding on, or from Sage, excuse me, this time adding on a couple sentries. And, you know, if anything, he can just recall, right? So no reason not to do this, really. And, you know, obviously, if your opponent, if you can force some units to be made out of your opponent, you're going to be really happy. So not committing a lot into this. I mean, again, he can recall at any moment, of course. Must keep that Muncher Core alive. Behind this Twilight Council done, smells like Dark Templar because he doesn't have a Forge out. So, you know, as far as, okay, why are you making the Twilight? It's either going to be Blink, Charge, or Dark Templar, I think.
A lot of pressure coming out from Sage here. Oh, great force field. So many of the Zerglings can't assist the Queen.
Oh, Mothership Core gets taken out, though, so this kind of changed a little bit. Now Sage is a little bit forced to get a lot of damage done, considering he can't retreat. Zelt's getting a lot of damage to the Ling. Sentry's going to back up, but no more force shields are available. And speed is about 80% of the way done here for Sen. So Sage, it's a little bit dangerous moment. I mean, does he just continue to commit again, or just back up, go back to base?
I think he has to back up. I mean, right now he has a stronger army out in the field, but the problem is that over time, Sen cannot produce him. This army can't retreat, like you said, unless it starts running away now. On the other hand, his third base was denied by Zergling, so he feels he has to get more damage done before he can back away.
Now, no roaches have yet been made here from Sen, which is actually pretty intriguing. He does have a roach warren, but hasn't wanted to spend any gas on the roaches, where it's a little bit interesting because there's a lot of zealots in this composition. So if you're making leads, it's going to be much more difficult to deal with it. But
Sage again trying to set that third base. Zergling spots it. Zealot is there to protect the probe this time, so he's going to eventually get that third base up. But he definitely needs to put more pressure on Sen. Sen's been on 3 bases for quite a while.
Yeah, again, extending towards that third base. 1-1 is about to finish. Baneling Nest on the way as well, so we'll have to see what Sen decides to do with that, trying to swoop in here with these Lings to get that damage done, but 2 Immortals being added onto this composition to potentially deal with the roaches, but the Zealot count staying relatively high here. I think he was about 8 or 9 there, and still just having this forward presence in the Dark Shrine, ominously, is about 80% of the way down behind.
Oh, the Zealot count is so important. Once those die, Speedbeams can overrun the army. There's still a few Zealots left, though. He's warping in more and more every second. Sentries with their force can also be valuable. Drones are having to be pulled off the line now.
Wow, a lot of drones going down. Some Lings coming in here from Sen, and the Dark Shrine is about to finish. I think Sage is in a pretty solid position, even though he's losing a lot of Zealots here, because once he starts warping these DTs in, he can get even more damage done, and Sen is going to have to start worrying about that. And again, his lair is done, so he does have the ability to make an Overseer, but no detection as it stands at this third base. Sen has no idea about the Dark Tumblers that are about to come in here.
One key thing that Sen has going for him is he does have the upgrade advantage, so his Zerglings are going to be very cost efficient against the Protoss onslaught, but the DTs could be instrumental in dismantling Sen's economy.
Great surround with these Lings, onto these Sentries, onto this Immortal. Not enough energy just yet for recall, so there's no getting out of here, and every single unit is going to fall. 3 Overseers in production, but DT being sent into the third base. War Prism warping into DT into the main, so Sen is now have to worry about dealing with these Dark Templars. If Sen doesn't take too much damage from these Dark Templars, he's going to be in an okay position.
Sen was very fast in making those Overseers. There's still some more DTs in the main. Drones who are actually having to be pulled there, but he does hold for now. Remember, Sage's third has been late, and most importantly, Sen has a significant upgrade advantage. Now, he's lost a lot of drones. He had to pull drones against his Zealot attack, then he lost more to DTs. 26 workers killed. So if you look at the income tab, yes, Sen's on 3 bases, but his worker count is very low. In fact, he's actually being out-mined. If you add minerals and gas together, right now Sage is out-mining Sen. Sen still does have that very important upgrade advantage, so it may be okay that he's down on economy.
He has a bunch of units on the field, too.
He does. It's, you know, it's a very interesting game. The way the game has gone, it's not clear who's ahead. You know, Sage doesn't have a great mid-game composition because he went for the DTs, because he delayed his upgrades, because his third is late. His army is not that intimidating, but on the other hand, Sen, well, he could have an intimidating army with the upgrades he has. He doesn't have the economy to really continue to produce a massive amount of units.
When he shoved off that push at the third base, he had about 50 Lings on the map. I feel like that's almost a situation where you send those Lings across the map, try to kill your opponent's third, to try to deny it. If anything, force some DT weapons back at your opponent's side of the map, and then use reinforcements to help deal with the DTs. But Sen not doing that. What are your thoughts on how Sen's reaction as far as after killing that army leading to his third, keeping all of his units back to deal with DTs rather than trying to deny that third from Sage?
It's always a tough choice because on the one hand, if he counterattacks, maybe he could kill a third base and then be ahead in the game. But if he counterattacks, he has to build more units to deal with the War Prism Ras.
Oh, so like you'd rather make drones and keep your army back kind of thing.
That's what Sen was thinking. He really felt, you know what, I've lost so many workers. He was only down to 45 drones, and he was like, I need to just build more drones. I have an upgrade advantage. If I can get to Hive Tech with my 2-2 upgrades already done on melee units, and the fact that he skipped a Forge for so long, if I get to late game, my army will be better than his, just due to those upgrades. So a more conservative option to not try to attack the third, where if he failed, if there was enough warp-ins, if there was a good wall set up, if he couldn't kill the third, he might end up behind.
Now, if we're talking about Sage's point of view and what he's seen a lot of Lings. He's seen, the Hive in production with that War Prism in his opponent's main. I feel like he could probably guess what's coming as far as the ultras, but he knows the timing of that Hive. So I feel like he's going for this Charge Lot Zealot, really heavy, Charge Lot Archon, really heavy pressure off of these 3 bases. And if he can get, I feel like he's going to try to get as much damage possible done before those ultras get out.
We can see he's added 4 more gateways to do that attack you're talking about, but Sen with a nice amount of spine cores and main base is going to defend the War Prism Ras without a problem.
Yeah.
The main force is significantly smaller because so many units are devoted to War Prism Ras. There's not many Zealots in his competition. If more Zealots aren't warped in, Speedings could overrun this army.
Sen reacting really late though. 2 Force Fields going down. The Force Fields weren't that good at all, and he's going to recall, but taking out that natural expansion.
He also denied the hatchery on the left side as well, so Sen down to 2 mining bases. A big win for Sage there, I would say.
Yeah, Sage going to be really happy about that. Has Colossus on the way. Still has to be very cautious of what direction his opponent is going. And Sen is kind of all across the board here. Throwing down a Spire, throwing down that Ultralisk Cavern, working on a +1 missile attack upgrade, Adrenal Glands, Central Fugal Hooks, again, for Baneling. So, Sen is still going a lot of different directions with this tech, and it's going to be very difficult for Sage to try to identify exactly what he's going to be dealing with as this game goes forward.
Oh man, losing those Archons was not good for Sage here. The ideal composition he wants against the Ultras tech is going to be a good amount of Immortals, but also, very importantly, because he's behind in upgrades, he's going to need a very good way to deal with the mass speed needs of Sen, and that's going to mean Colossi tech. That's going to mean Sidestorm, that's going to mean Archons.
AoE. So important against that mass link play. Of course, Storm is about halfway done, and Colossi coming out, and Thermal Land. So really covering all of his bases is Sage at this point, trying to do some harassment at this third, while getting his 4th up back home. As it stands, I think Sage is going to be really happy with his position. The question is going to be, what kind of damage can Sen get done to try to bring himself back into the game with these ultras that are about to pop out, and of course adding on all these upgrades for those ultras.
Now that Sen sees his 4th base on the right side, he has 2 options. He can, he's going to, that's a lot of Zerglings.
Oh my god, those force fields were amazing. So many things going to, the Colossus went and
it was a traitor
Colossus went and let the Lings out. He felt bad. The Colossus felt bad. You know what? I respect that. Sage, I respect you for making that decision. No one wants to see a bunch of Lings die.
No, they're kind of cute. Sage has lost the last couple of War Prisms as well, so now he has no ability to really harass Sen. The Queens have done a great job defending that. Sen has all these Ultras on the field, so now he has a choice. He says, my opponent has a 4th base. Should I try to hit a Tommy on that 4th? It's tough because you're going to be fighting choke points. He's already seen he has a decent amount of robotics units. He has a high-tech army. The other option is to use the Ultras to take map control and then tech up to Broodlords and say, you know what, if you have Storm, if you have Immortals, you have Colossi, what's great against those 3 things? It's going to be the Broodlords, and I don't think you're going to be able to tech up the Tempest in time to deal with them.
Now we can also talk, we see Greatest Fire on the way, as you said. Now we can kind of talk about the map layout here of Belshir Vestige. There's a lot of chokes. There's not a lot of open space. And when you're going for the Speedling Ultralisk composition, all that space is really important. So it's almost a situation where Sen, if he wants to get a good engagement, he needs to figure out how to get that surround, but that's very difficult to do on Belshir Vestige. However, what does help, Ultras crush force fields, which is nice, but again, Belshir Vestige, very hard to navigate in these later stages when the Protoss is building that deadfall and you're trying to figure out the optimal way to engage it.
That's right. A Zerg player can often set up those flanks defensively. They know their opponent's coming out to the map to attack them, but trying to break an opponent who's turning is very difficult on this map. Now, Sage has spotted the greater spire, so he's getting double Stargates, ready to respond to potential Broodlord threat. He's also thinking about attacking Sen before Broodlords hit the field, but as he commits on the creep, as he gets further into Sen's territory, the threat that Ultras surround does become more real.
Of course, he has a Militia Core here, so I don't think he has a problem recalling out. And again, this position is great. At the bottom of this ramp, he's going to back up, but Sen looks like he wants to go for engagement. Storm's going down onto the Ultras. The Link sneaking ahead of him. Link's running back into Storms, but it looks like almost, nothing really happening there. Some Storms going down, but look at this. Sage going to drop some Zealots into this main base, attacking in 2 different locations. He's trying to be annoying here towards Sen, putting a Time Warp there on the ramp as well. And it looks like...
the Mothership Core!
Oh, does get taken out. No running here, but Storm's going to be thrown down behind this Protoss army.
But now Sage has got to be careful. He can defend this ramp probably, but if he goes down the ramp onto creep again with the Queens and Ultras, it could be very dangerous. Sen now, he's getting the Broodlords. Once those Broodlords complete, if there isn't an answer to them, you need either a massive amount of Blink Stalkers or some area to steal Broodlords.
Yeah, +1 airs on the way, and we have Void Rays in production. Colossus doing a lot of damage. Queen's trying to transfuse the Ultras. Another Storm going down here from Sage. Has to be careful not to overextend, because once those Broodlords pop out, it's not going to be fun at all. Not much anti-air in this composition. Again, we don't have a lot of Blink Stalkers. Archons, their range isn't fantastic, so there's no way they're getting close to those Broodlords. So it's not like you have the Mothership Core to grapple all the Broodlords in place. So we're going to need to see Void Rays ASAP. But look at this, Sage abusing the lack of mobility for Sen right now. Attacking this base on the left-hand side, and Sen trying to crawl his Queens and Broodlords in that direction.
Oh, he's got to be careful though. If he loses all those Immortals on retreat, then Ultras will all of a sudden become a greater threat.
Whoa, Sen doing a great job with these Link, trying to surround these Immortals. That's actually a pretty big deal. I would love to see the Immortals try to target down the Ultras as they're about to die, because they're not getting out of here alive. The Broodlords getting some nice connections as well. 2 Warp Prisms on the way here from Sage. So really identifying the best way to deal against this composition is abuse the lack of ability. Try to attack in every place possible, because Broodlords, again, they're going to have a hard time dealing with a bunch of counter-harassment.
Sage is also on 5 bases, so only the 4 of Sen. He's producing Voiders out of 4 Stargates. Sen's going to have a very difficult time dealing with those Voiders. He has a good number of Queens on the field. He has an upgrade for him, but he's got to get rid of Sage's economy. Sage can rebuild his Templar, rebuild the Immortals to back up this air fleet. Sen is going to have a very difficult time matching it.
I think this base in the bottom right might be dead. I don't know. Yeah, Sage is going to give it up. Pulling the probes back. Might, as this is happening, might try to take a Nexus there at the middle left. Belshir Vestige, such an interesting map as it gets to these later stages when you're trying to figure out what bases to take. But now we're seeing all the Warp Prisms get in action. We've got a drop in the man. We have a drop on the left-hand side of the map, and we have this Ultraless composition, this Broodlord composition, taking down this base on the right-hand side, and Immortal somehow getting there into the main base, trying to target down key structures. 1 Spire going down. The 2nd Spire is going to go down as well. Yes, it will. Goodbye. And now targeting down the spawning pool. Sage doing a great job taking the fight to Sen here with these Warp Prisms.
Oh man, Sage really trying to buy time. He knows he needs to be able to remake the air transition properly to deal with Sen's army, which is based currently on the Ultras and the Broodlords.
Ultra's like, what's going on here?
Poor Ultra. He's on to retreat, but he sees the composition. He sees it's mostly Void Rays. The key thing for Sen's going to be, he needs to totally get rid of all the ground units using the Broodlords and Ultras. If all the ground units are gone, the Queens can deal with the Void Rays. But the problem is that if the Void Rays can take out the Ultras and the Broodlords fast enough, then with Zealot Warpins, with feedbacks, with Psystorms, with Colossi, the Queens can't really fight the ground army and air army at the same time.
Oh, probes changing their mind. Thought they were going to go mine, but the Broodlords are there. Sage trying to identify where his opponent is. I think he still has a couple Warp Prisms on the map. Yeah, he has another one in production, so really trying to favor getting those out on the field. But again, Sen doing a decent job holding it off, keeping his main army alive. And as time goes along, Sen's main army gets stronger and stronger. And this is turning into a situation where, you know, normally in ZVP you're looking for those cost-efficient trades. Now it's like it's mass army versus mass army. It's going to come down to a huge engagement.
That's right, and Sage cannot afford to lose that right side next. But I think it's going to go down. But the Queens could be outside. No, the Queens are the most important part of the competition. You cannot let those all go down.
Feedbacks. All these Queens are going to melt, which means what is going to deal with the Void Rays? Corruptors, not the right answer. Ultras, they don't claw up, and these Void Rays are going to shred away everything. One little mistake from Sen, and he loses every single Queen. These Broodlords might end up dying too. The Corruptors trying in vain to protect them, but these are Void Rays.
Oh man, the Corruptors stand no chance. Trying to remake 15 more Corruptors, but there's so many Void Rays, I don't think 15 Corruptors can even touch them. Now the Broodlords are dying, so we can warp in more groundiness as well. Sen took out Sage's most important mining base, but at the cost of his army, it was just not worth it, man.
No, it's one of those situations where the Queens, like, it's not their fault. They're slow. So they're like, like Sen's like, all right, army, let's go over here. And the Queens are like, okay, let's go. But they're slow. So they're really far behind. Of course, Sen is shouting at the Queens, why didn't you go? They're slow, and they're going to die.
And you notice a situation where if the Broodlings and Ultras were in front to keep the Templar back, keep the Archons back, maybe Sen could have won that engagement. Because that number of Queens versus the Void Raids alone, they might have done pretty well. They had so many transfuses as well. But once the Templar got in there, got all the feedbacks off, that's where it looks bad for Zerg. And then you're stuck with just air against air. And air against air is always going to go the Protoss' way, unless you have an overwhelming amount.
Pretty basic idea here, guys. Have an army engage with all of it. You need to do that. Unfortunate situation there from Sen. Great game, great build up to that point, but then Sen just miscontrolling once. And that's what will happen in StarCraft 2. So guys, stay tuned. This is a best of 3, so Sen still has the ability to come back. But for now, Sage is up 1-0. Game 2 coming up.